Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Prospects Central 101. My name is Chris, and today I am joined by,
Raiden.
and we're going to be taking a look at one of my already favorite dudes in this class, in Bryce Hall. So, I told you a little bit about how much I liked him from my first watch through of him. Have you ever gotten the chance to see his tape yet?
No.
Okay, so he was a junior last year, so I was able to check out a couple of his games already in case he came out, and I really, really like a lot of the things that I saw from Bryce Hall, and I honestly am a little bit surprised he was told to go back to school to begin with. Um, honestly, if he would have came out this year, he probably would have been a first or second round guy. Next year probably has the potential to go as high as a top 10. So it'll be really interesting to see exactly where he falls, but it's definitely, at least as of now, in August, a battle between him and Christian Fulton for CB1. So the one advantage that he does have over Fulton is the size. He does hit the 6 foot mark, and he also is 200, which is really, really nice to see. And I don't think there's any concerns about age, but yeah, so
Turns out he's 53.
overall, anything you want to mention about size or profile or anything before we
I
get
mean,
started?
it's never mind. I can't make that joke, so I'm good.
Okay. So today we're going to start out at least by showing you the first 2 games that I remember most I was able to watch. And NC State versus Ryan Finley and Duke versus Daniel Jones. 2 guys who ended up getting taken, actually, in both cases, I'll even say, a little bit higher than I was expecting them to go in this year's draft in 2019. So it'll be really interesting to see how he does against the 6th overall pick and Kelvin Harmon, who I believe went 32 to New England, right? Or was that Harry?
That was the kill Harry. Harmon went in like the 6th round.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah, he was that one guy that just fell for like no explicable reason. There's every year there's usually one guy that just falls. Everyone's like, what the hell? Yeah, that was Kelvin Harmon this year.
Uh,
He was just that guy that just didn't have an explainable injury or off the field. It's just I don't know. Yeah, I guess he just fell because they felt like it.
weird. So, yeah, anyway, Harmon, despite that, was widely thought of, at least by Jack Twitter, as a pretty high profile receiver prospect. So, it'll be interesting to see exactly what he does, and for you, your first time getting
Mm-hmm.
your first exposure to him. So, you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right, 34.
Yep.
Thank you, Arrow person. Gotta love the camera angle.
So one thing I'm going to start with is, especially at the start of the snap, I really like how low he stays and how quick he is able to move. Give up a little bit of space at the end there.
Good lord, that was a good catch.
They seem to be playing him off man quite a bit, which is somewhat interesting. Also has some experience in zone. And he can
Thank
play
you for the
tight.
red box. I was like, this is what one thing I hate about watching corners and receivers in general is that if they're on the wrong side of the field, you may not see them all, but you may not see them for a couple plays in a row.
So this play here, and I actually know this is going to get picked. Spoiler alert. Uh,
Thank
but
you.
but I'm going to really start taking through from this point in the play. Look how Bryce Hall positions himself. Just he's playing extremely really tight to the receiver, and there's no ground, no distance between or space, I guess is the best word, for the receiver to make this play. He literally has to. I don't want to call it a lobster block because like he's not really blocking him, but he kind of has to jump over the body of Bryce Hall here to be able to even make this play, and you're not going to be able to do that against a corner as talented as he is who can track. So just overall, and even from this point in the play, just does a really nice job of staying in phase and allowing himself to completely outposition the receiver. And then the ball tracking, the hands, all that good stuff, playmaking ability, able to pull it in. Boom. Another thing too is look at the hand position that Bryce Hall gets here. Right, so well actually first we'll start off by the athletic ability. And that's actually a really, really good vertical. But going back to the hand position here, he does a really nice job of getting that left hand, which I don't even think is his strong hand, right in between the gloves of the receiver, and trying to be able to, and also you see him have the ability to deflect this, right? So if the receiver is able to get a stronger grip, he has the ability to kind of like move his left hand forward and get the deflection or the swat. But he does a really nice job with his arm extension, getting full length with his arms, and he also does a really nice job of getting off the ground with his vertical, giving him the maximum amount of length, and especially against a bigger physical guy like Harmon, every single inch or two is going to make a huge difference. So for him to be able to get up and make that kind of athletic play is really, really nice to see. But he's also able to outmuscle him as well. 'He also coverage versatility is really nice. We've seen him line up in tight coverage, in off coverage, in zone. Nice wrap and roll tackle. And that's what's really going to keep his stock from falling too far down, is his ability to be able to help out and run support. He's not one of those guys that's afraid to tackle like we saw quite a bit of last season.
There's always that one guy who has nothing to do with the ball going incomplete, showboating. Oh dear dog, you need to throw this away.
Third and one. He does a really nice job too, and I really wanted to emphasize this earlier, but that was kind of ooh, misses the tackle unfortunately. That was kind of an ideal rep to show it because we get to see him full screen for the entire play. But one thing I really want to point out is patience. He's not going to be overly aggressive, and he waits for the receiver to make his move here. Does a nice job of staying, bam, receiver comes inside, he opens up. It allows him to not get spin cycled as often, which is obviously ideal in terms of leverage and positioning and all that kind of stuff. Staying in phase from start to finish. Now, what I like about this play is his ability to read the route. And I'm actually going to back this up a little bit. And, oops, no, backing up. And we're not going to be able to see the entirety of the play, unfortunately, but we'll kind of be able to see him break on the inside. So you see him obviously backing up, and then it's going to be an inside route, and he's right there undercutting the receiver, which allows him to get his hand on the ball. And almost get a pick again. Backside pursuit, which is kind of cool. You don't really get to see a lot of corners in force. Active motor as well, which is really nice to see. And another perfect example of the patience. Obviously, it's a run play, but you really get to see him kind of hold ground here and not bite and be over aggressive, which is really, really good. Waits, finally makes his move and he opens out. Zone play. Blitzing. Yep. Pass rushing here. Which means if you're a team that takes him that needs a nickel, he could perhaps fill that role a little bit bigger than your typical nickel. Most of your nickel corners are going to be a little bit smaller. But he does have the ability in terms of skill set to be able to play inside. With both coverage versatility, tackling, run support, and pass rushing. Or dime corner, to be honest. If your team is that deep. Does a nice job there of staying low in the zone. Or I mean, not low in the zone, low in the back pile. And obviously, well, it is a zone play, is why I said that. But he's going to give up a little bit of ground here, obviously, because it's of where his assignment is. He's protecting sticks. But he does a really nice job in terms of how he's doing it as well, and limiting the amount of ground that he gives up behind him, making sure to keep the play in front of him the entire time. Nice disguise blitz. And another thing that I'm going to focus on here too is exactly how he moves so late. And the patience, again, here is a benefit, and you get to see that on not only just the coverage side, but the pass rushing side. Right here, he does not give away the blitz until after the ball snap. So it really helps benefit, and that's why the right tackle isn't able to see him.
Although he got completely stonewalled by the running back. Oh dear.
So that was a really nice play call by NC State to kind of exploit the zone. But one thing I'm going to talk about again here is how long he stays low in his base. And it really allows for him to get the most out of his movements and strafe, especially. And we'll kind of get to see that athleticism hopefully in M drills in Indianapolis. But he does a really nice job of maximizing his ability to move side to side throughout the course of the play. So not the most reliable tackler of all time, but aggressive enough. They really like playing a lot of off soft coverage, partially because they just seem to be playing a lot of zone. But they'll play him tight as well. Force player here. And he does a really nice job of sealing the force. So one thing that we don't really see a lot from corners, I've already hinted to it a couple times, is their ability to kind of seal the edge and or play the force against a run. And short yardage 3rd and 1 here, we have Hall coming around the end here as the force guy. Basically, his job is to take away the outside zone, I guess, outside pitch, toss, whatever play outside the numbers that or outside the hash that you want to call it. And he does that. He forces, well, he helps, I should say, force this run up the middle right into the teeth of the defense, and that's what stuffs him short. Kind of just an extra added benefit to having him on your team. Of course, that play doesn't matter because it's a sneak. Patience again. Really nice job of keeping his eyes on the receiver. Another blitz play. took away the blocker to free up the other guy. Back to some soft coverage. Looks to be zone again. The one thing that I don't really care much for about zone, at least when watching prospect tape, is that you can't really get to see their physicality and force and boundary. You really get to see that emphasized best when they're in tight coverage. So that's going to be something that we have to continue to look out for. And there's actually, as I say that, literally a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Kind of like right on cue. That wasn't even planned. Um, so one thing that I really look for a lot in corners, and Singy Jones, this is why I really loved Singy Jones a couple years ago, is he was fantastic in doing this. Is the one thing that you really want to see boundary corners do is force these receivers without pushing them physically into the boundary to reduce the throwing window that the quarterback has, and basically ensure that the quarterback has the smallest window possible to complete the pass to his outside receiver, his X or his Z. And Bryce Hall here does exactly what you want to see with that, right? He doesn't actually push the receiver physically out of bounds, but he takes away and reduces the amount of space between the receiver and the out of bounds line, marker, line, boundary, whatever, and forces an incomplete pass in doing so. That was nice recognition by the corner on the other side. Motor plays through the whistle, all that fun stuff. You get to see more of the patience.
I don't know. I don't necessarily know if that's patience more than being slow to react on that play.
So I don't necessarily want a guy to be too over aggressive though either, because what you do is you end up giving yourself up a little bit.
But
And so like if this were a play action pass, right, and he jumped on that and reacted to the run, he'd be completely obliterated over the top.
but he's still standing there by the time he's already handed the ball off. Like he's not reacting to the when it's already been committed to a run. That's a flag. Yeah.
perfect positioning. Really like how he's staying base throughout the process of the play. And obviously, it was in tight coverage, so you get to see it throughout the entire course of the play. And even right here, right in stride with the receiver, just puts himself in the best position that he can to reduce the amount of separation the receiver has in space uh, to make the play. And that's really what helps him in terms of, I guess, forcing the incompletion, even though he didn't really actually force it. Ensuring the incompletion. Probably the best word. Forced again, and this play actually almost worked out.
That was horrific tackling by the DO.
Another forced play. Opposite side though. Motor's definitely there in terms of run support.
That was late.
Do you remember what team drafted Finley?
The Bengals.
Nice gap integrity. Oh, and nice wrap. But what I really like about this play was his ability to kind of take away that hole. Right here, the running back has the option of either going through the interior hole or the exterior hole. And Hall, obviously, as a corner, is going to take the exterior. Running back chooses to probably the wrong decision, to be honest. Thinking he could beat Bryce Hall in a one-on-one, and he's not able to. Nice disguise blitz. So, so that looked like a pretty poor defensive play call. You actually don't really hear me say that a lot, but in this case, it's pretty clear that they're flooding this half of the field. And between the fullback, this receiver starting out over there, and the receiver that Hall's on, he literally has to cover both guys at the same time. And he kind of gets caught in the middle because he has no help. So, not really a whole lot that he can do about that. You know, he probably could have committed to Harmon and left the underneath guy open, I suppose. But times it's kind of good to stay in your zone. Is that supposed to be a running back pass? Okay.
That's another play where it seemed like he was like too patient.
That was actually a pretty decent tackle by 22. Red zone.
That was just a real nice throw.
So the one thing that I'm kind of watching here is how did he exactly get spin cycled? Back shoulder. Okay. So this is one of those cases where you'd probably like to see him. Well, of course, that was actually nice, quick release by Finley. You kind of want to see him be able to tighten that space up along the boundary a little bit better. And he does at the very end here, in this particular frame, look just a tad out of position. And you want to see him a little bit more under instead of over the top. Now, of course, there's a chance that that's a over the top throw and he arcs it. But by this point in the play, he should be tracking the ball enough to where he should know that that's going to go back shoulder. Two-point conversion. Okay, so through the first game, your thoughts?
I mean, he's cool, but you're treating him like he's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. So it's like he's cool. I mean, he he was pretty solid in coverage, but there several plays. It's like like especially in the run, it seemed like he was too patient to a point, and I was, and at the same time, and he also missed us a few tackles. So it's like he's cool, but I'm not seeing why you're treating him like a god quite yet.
Okay, then. For what it's worth, I did kind of harp on the tackling line in my grades. I only gave him a 6, which is like day 3, I think. Wow, that's. There we go.
How many games are we gonna watch?
At least these 2.
Okay.
Probably one more. So one more thing that I really like too that we didn't really get the chance to point out in slow-mo, which is kind of why I'm keeping this on regular speed, is the active feet. He does a really nice job of showing off his fluidity and shiftiness by keeping his feet active throughout the play, allowing him to be able to adjust his angle and positioning consistently without getting stuck in sand.
That was a horrific decision by Daniel Jones. Kind of got turned around right there for some reason on that last play.
So looked like I don't want to call it a double move, but it looks like the receiver fakes out here, and it looks like believes at least that this receiver is running a vertical sim of some kind. So he's going to try and turn this around and play the boundary, whereas
Yeah.
instead the receiver half cuts him and pulls a Hollywood round and cuts him inside on a post. So route recognition. Not the best tackling
Tackle.
form, but I like the.
I like that he tries. It's just his form could improve a good bit. You know, I'd rather have a guy who's poor at tackling than tries than someone who try doesn't like try to tackle at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I can appreciate the effort.
Now going back to coverage again, I really like here how he keeps the play in front of him on third down. I already mentioned this once or twice, but another play to re-emphasize. Making sure that this receiver doesn't get to the first down marker, and when he does, he's going to be able to attack. Same thing. Nice shed. And there we get to see a little bit better route rec than the post play. He's going to do a really nice job here of leaving his receiver and coming across to make a play on the tight end. And helps force the incompletion on third down.
Or that was just a drop.
It was a drop, but he heard footsteps, I'm sure. Really nice combo coverage. Does a really nice job of taking away the over the top throw, while the other defender takes away the underneath in case it's underthrown, which obviously Daniel Jones, not necessarily the arm strength of some of the other guys. Really nice side here. Just really, really, and of course, after playing half speed, it's going to look fast, but I really like his fluidity. Quick feet.
Uh,
That was interesting. I don't know why they had him in double. Nice shed. Of course, they're going to throw the flag. Yeah. Oops. Oh, I really wish we could get a better shot at this, but overall, again, just really nice tight coverage. And we see, like right before this, it's kind of fast, but he was in position, is I guess really the main point. He does a really nice job of getting inside and getting his hand in positions as well. Over the top, and there we go, again enforcing the boundary. He's also a pick. So we'll actually take this one in slow-mo for a second here. And just emphasize the positioning and the ability to stay in phase. Even at this point in the play, the 35, right in stride, gets his head around extremely early, and he's a very good ball tracker. 2 games, 2 picks, has playmaking ability, really like his ability to snatch the ball out as well. Solid hands, does a great job with his hand positioning in the air, like we showed in the first interception. Great vertical ability as well. We got to show that a little bit in the first pick also. But on this play, we get to see a little bit more of how he's able to enforce the boundary, restricting the amount of space that Daniel Jones has to make that throw, taking away the window, and without physically extending his arm out to push him into the boundary, does a really nice job of limiting that space as much as possible without getting called for DPI to make the catch. There is no space for Daniel Jones to make that throw. He would have been just as good throwing it away. And actually, this is kind of cool. You get to see throughout the entire course of the play, stays completely in phase. Excellent. That is exactly everything I like about him in one play. He has the athleticism to keep up with faster receivers, has the size to be able to body out more bigger body receivers, has the playmaking skills to be able to make plays on the ball, and has a lot of the technique and consistency in technique that you want to see from the top corner. And oh, that break. Watch how he breaks on this route. Boom, right here, launching, bam. Explosive out of the cut. Really nice to see that. Really nice job undercutting the route. Another view here. Hand positioning and recovery speed. Gets a little bit caught out here. You see a little bit of separation. But his ability to recover, close that amount of ground that he was able to get, and then get his hands in almost perfect position to affect the passing lane. Really, really elite. Yeah, forced him out, I guess. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot wrong with his angles either. I don't know your thoughts on that, Braden.
Um,
Like
yeah,
the
it's just
taste to the ball,
mhm. That's who the Giants should have drafted at number 6.
the tight
Rip
end.
the cameraman.
Oh. So thoughts on his angles?
I mean, they seem fine. It's more the technique itself and the tackling that seems to be the problem than the angles he's taking.
Yep. Really like the versatility in coverage, pointing that out last game as well, and again the patience.
That's to me, that's not patience. That's being slow to react. And
But like at some point though, you can't give up leverage to the receiver, right? Because the last thing you want to do here is if you cut outside, this receiver is going to run the slant and he's going to be wide open.
well, I'm saying he doesn't. Even after he runs, he commits inside. He still doesn't react to it. That wasn't the player. I swear that I'm looking.
He opens
Okay,
up
can you go
outside
back another
afterwards.
play? Yeah, this was the play. That's what I was talking about. Go back. Okay, I guess it wasn't this play. It was the one before it. That one, yeah. Like
He,
there. That's
he
what I'm talking
he's open
about.
though.
Yeah, I'm saying he
He gives
reacts
up a little
even
bit of
after.
separation, but he still opens in time. Because like at this, in fact, actually, he opens up a little bit too much outside to begin with for me. Right here, he should not be opening as open outside and giving up the outside leverage. He should be still straight on. And that's what
Right.
allows him to create the separation inside, and that's why the receiver gets so much room inside because he was already a little too far open. And this play is a little bit more straight on, and that's why he had to go outside because he didn't open up as quickly. So, me personally, I actually like that he wasn't being too aggressive and giving up the space.
On that play, sure. But the one on the slant play, I felt like he should have reacted once he committed. He should have moved in soon, moved to try and close that space down sooner than he did.
And that was more, to me at least, being because, before we get into that, it's because he opened a little bit too far outside, and the receiver exploited that by taking him inside, so he didn't necessarily have that inside leverage. I don't necessarily think that that was lack of reaction or being too patient or hesitant. I think that had more to do with him giving that position up too quickly. Because he has the recovery speed. I mean, we've seen it. That's probably
No, I'm not.
comfortable.
No, I'm not denying that he has recovery speed. No, I'm not denying that.
So even if he does get caught out of position once, twice, it's not really that big of an issue. And again, there's the
That's better. That's better. That's targeting.
Yeah. Okay, so overall, thoughts on game number two.
I mean, it was all right. I just seemed basically a lot of the same stuff, you know. Good in coverage, real good speed and athleticism, and but just kind of some problems with the tackling. In my opinion, I felt like not just that play, but there was a few plays where he was a bit too patient for my liking, and also, and in that game there was a couple more times that even he got caught a bit out of position, even whether regardless of what the reason was.
Okay. So going over to what I had on him the first time that I watched, when this loads, of course.
Yeah, we'll be here for about 8 years. There we go.
No, actually, you'd be surprised. Docs actually loads pretty, or Sheets, I mean, actually loads pretty quick. And we see that with Docs too. It takes a minute, but it's not like Skype. Oh my god, Skype loading is horrid.
There's a reason they say to not use it for an emergency.
So overall, I have him. Obviously, you guys can see the full stuff already as an 87 out of 100, which is one of the higher grades I've given up. 90 is like all pro, 85 plus is like Pro Bowl, 80 plus is first rounder, 70 is second, 60 third, etc.
Etc.
Yeah. So overall, my biggest strength to me was the explosiveness. I really like, and we saw it with the one cut play on the breakout on the out route. I really like how he has that ability to kind of just make up the ground, and I also like his ability to get in and out of cuts as well. So that really stood out to me a few times. Biggest weakness, as we all already discussed, is the open space tackling.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The main thing I'd change his biggest strength, I'd put it as just athleticism in general and not just one thing. I think athleticism in general, whether it's his vertical, his explosiveness, or his speed, I think is his biggest strength. So I agree with you. I'm just saying I would have worded it differently. There you go. So yeah, I agree with you with those.
So going into the actual traits here, I have 10 per position, and I'll talk about them a little bit as I go too as well. First one is obviously the most important one to me, and that's being footwork. So this is ability to change direction quick, well, not in terms of body change direction, but in terms of feet
Mhm.
change direction quickly. Active feet, I talked about that a couple of times. How his ability to keep his feet active and stay out of quicksand. Uh, and also the ability to, I guess I don't want to call it stay straight because I saw some more body positioning, but without giving up too much with your feet, I guess, and restricting the amount of um, excess motion. There's a word I've used several times before, but um,
Mhm.
basically like not going overboard with the extreme movements. I really liked what he
Yeah,
was able to do in that department, so I gave him a 9. Your thoughts?
I'd agree with that one. Yeah,
Cool.
9. I think that's a fair rating.
So fluidity of motion and athleticism is more upper body athleticism. So this is going to be your ability to change direction in terms of body. Um, this is going to be speed. This is going to be acceleration. This is going to include recovery speed. This is going to be explosiveness, all those kinds of things, the kind of things that you're going to see in the combine. And specifically for corners, this is going to be in terms of what you would expect to see for an M drill. So, how well guys can change direction and react physically to a receiver's movements. So, for that, I also gave him a 9.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Cool. So this is run support and pass rushing. Now, when I say run support for this, I don't mean tackling. Tackling is going to be the next category. In terms of run support, this is his ability to play on the edge. This is his ability to be a force player. This is his ability to shed blocks. If he is a pass rusher, so more for nickels, this will include if he has any pass rushing moves. Like there are some nickel corners who have a spin move to beat running backs or whatever, or bull rush moves in some rare cases, things like that. But mainly in terms of like block shedding, being able to get make plays against the run, and also includes motor as well, and ability to willingness to go in and make a play and run support. So for that, I gave him a 10.
I honestly I think it's a bit too high because the run support I agree with, but I wasn't too impressed with his pass rushing because every time he did, he just basically got stonewalled. Like he didn't. I'm not obviously expecting like a Von Miller spin move or something, but like give me just something that just running straight, some sort of like basically anything but running right at the blocker. So I'd probably lean towards more of a eight or mm, it's hard to be. Yeah, nine I think is a bit more of a fair because it's like it's good, but it's not like perfect.
Okay, fair enough. It was more so, I think when I started that category, I thought more so motor and effort and ability to, and not necessarily how good they are there. Because, like, especially for a boundary corner, you're not really going to send a boundary guy pass rushing so much as a nickel.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, but for me, I think motor and stuff is different than run support and pass rushing, in my opinion.
Okay. So next is
So
tackling. I already talked about that a little bit. I gave him a
yeah,
6. That's
yeah,
like day
that's
3.
fair enough. Yeah.
5, okay, so like I actually have the scale on here. 5 is like basically one of the worst that I'm giving out. That's like day 3. Anything under a 5 is UDFA. So 6 is like fourth or fifth round tackling. Definitely something technically that you want to see improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Next is ball tracking and playmaking. So this is going to be partially, well, I don't want to say too much positioning because I think that's its own category also. But this is ability to track the ball, not give up when you're tracking the ball. This is your ability to not get out of position while tracking the ball. Like for example, I think Justin Gilbert had this issue where he would like go for an interception or whatever, and then he would like overjudge the position that the ball was going in and give up a catch behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Like just an example. Um, so like basically not give up ground while you're tracking a ball. Uh, your ability to box guys out, make sure that you're going to be able to put yourself in position to make a play on the ball. Uh, and overall, just like hand catching ability to a lesser extent. Uh, ability to finish interceptions, I guess. Like, for example, Emmanuel Warriors dropped a pick 6 of his 8 practices so far in Lions camp. So he would have a little bit of a drop because his hands aren't consistent, right? So I gave him a 9 for that as well. Whoops. Thoughts?
Fair enough. Yeah.
And we got to see 2 of his picks as well. I think that kind of supports the argument for a 9.
Yeah.
Is you really got to see the maximum amount of his capability and what he can do in that category.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. Although the one going back to it, I personally think his ball tracking and playmaking is better than his run support / pass rushing, in my opinion. So
Maybe it's because I'm being a little bit more looser with this. Whereas like ball tracking and playmaking is something that like every corner has to have to
yeah,
be able
yeah,
to make a
yeah.
play on the ball. And that's not even like including just interceptions or whatever. That's like swats. That's being able to like get your hands
Get
in.
it?
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm aware of that. No, I don't say I agree with the nine. I'm just saying, my opinion. I think it's better than the pass rushing. So if anything possible, I'd switch the ball tracking to a 10 in the run support to a 9.
Okay.
If I, all
If
right.
you're doing this yourself, yeah. I'm not
Yes,
going
if I
to,
was,
but
yeah, no, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying if I was doing it myself.
cool. So the next one is reading some coverage. I mentioned this at several points throughout this video, and that's a guy's ability to play soft coverage, hard coverage, and various types of zone. So obviously, if you're only playing at the line of scrimmage, Jalen Ramsey style, you're going to get a little bit of deduction. On the other hand, if you're Darius Slay and you're much better at zone than man, you're also going to get dinged a little bit. So this is your ability to play all three types of coverage at a higher level and without also your ability to not drop off between different types of coverage. So, for
Yeah,
example, if you're a man corner who goes to the Steelers, your fit's not necessarily going to be there because you can't play zone as well. On the other
yeah,
hand, same thing. If you're a zone guy playing a man scheme like Darius Slay in Detroit last year, you're also not going to be as effective as you possibly could be. So, does that make sense?
yeah. Yeah, no, that makes
It's
sense.
not just your ability and the amount of film you have as being able to play all three types of coverage. It's making sure that you can play all three types of coverage at a decent rate.
Yeah,
So I gave him a 9 for that as well.
fair enough.
Cool. Next one was enforcing the boundary, and we got to see that especially on the Duke pick
Yeah,
and the one play in the NC State game. So I think again that kind of points to his ceiling in that category and how well he can be at the NFL level. So maybe a little bit, I guess,
yeah.
positive, but I actually think that he's shown a little bit in that area and can get up to a 9 pretty easily this year.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if I'd necessarily give the same because I don't necessarily I don't do a points scale myself. I just kind of base it off of rounds instead of like point system. So I don't know necessarily if I'd give the same thing if I had my own personal scale, but I agree with what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah, no, actually, this is kind of new for me. For the most part, like last year I did just all rounds, but it kind of got to the point where it was like, why do I have this guy in this round, but yet this guy who's much more talented in the same round is this guy who's less so? And it kind of got to the point where it was a little bit mushy. And I also tried a thing too, where I would have like stylistic grades, but at some point you kind of have to tighten up a little bit in that and be like, okay, if Devin White or Devin Bush is not as good in zone coverage as Devin White is, then Devin White is going to be a much better prospect in zone. So he should have more points in zone coverage than Devin Bush. On the other hand, Devin Bush should have more man coverage points than Devin White does. So yes, they should be technically like even, but they shouldn't be even in terms of like round grade. They should be even in terms of, well, this guy's better at this thing than that. So
All right,
it kind of got interesting. I'm going to try this for this year at least, I think, and see how well it works.
all right.
Next one is discipline and route recognition. So this is discipline. I probably should move this down to an 8 to be honest. Uh,
Yeah,
but discipline, obviously, pass interference for corners, especially, is one. Um, Discipline in terms of physical traits like handiness. Um, Overall, like the late hit we saw as well, probably
yeah,
things a little bit. The out of bounds play in the Duke game, things like that. But also mental discipline, right? So that's again kind of includes being caught out of position a little bit. That's recognizing different routes. I also have in that category. That is, um, I guess, kind of motor plays into that a little bit too, to some degree. Uh, Overall, just I think intangibles is next, but they're they're kind of similar in some ways. Just discipline and route recognition a little bit more specific.
all
I
right.
gave him a 9 for both. Intangibles just being like leadership character, injury history if he has one, would knock
Yeah,
that
yeah,
down, things like that.
yeah.
So overall thoughts on those two?
I think I'd move the discipline route running down to an 8 personally. Again, personally, you don't have to,
Oh, I
but
know.
in
I've already done this, so I'm kind of
yeah,
sticking to what I have until I see otherwise. But
in general, I agree with what you said.
cool. So based on this, where exactly? Well, not exactly, but where about would you have him? I'm assuming since I have him as a Pro Bowl type of guy, that you at least have a first.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, definitely a first. Yeah, for sure, I definitely would. I have him in the. I think I would have him in the first round.
Sweet. So overall, anything that I did not talk about in terms of traits that you were looking at and noticed?
No, you covered it a bit. You covered it all in most part.
Sweet.
Well, oh yeah, you missed patience. Yeah, fair enough. You did talk about that. Yeah.
Cool. So overall, is there anything that you've seen that would compare him? How you compare? Well, I guess this is a better way to phrase this. How do you think that he would compare to some of the guys in last year's class or any other class that you've watched before?
Um. Well, I think last year he definitely would have had been in conversation for like a top corner, but I still think Byron Murphy is better. I think he's a better corner than Bryce Hall is, in my opinion. But I think 2017, he definitely have an argument for the top corner. So he's definitely in the limited scouting thing. He definitely one of the better ones I've seen.
Interesting. So overall, one guy that I actually really like comparing him to, and this may be an ACC thing, is Jair Alexander. I was
Mm,
really high on Jair Alexander a year before everyone else was, and I feel like Bryce Hall's kind of already very high on at
Lord,
chat Twitter, but I feel like they're kind of in that same mold in terms of guys who can play all different types of coverage. They're very athletic. Jair was, I think, the second or third most athletic corner in his class. And in terms of man ability and upside, the similarities in terms of how they cover and their strengths, I feel are really similar in a lot of ways. So, for those of you guys looking for an NFL comp, Bryce Hall a little bit bigger, and I think that's what gives him the edge over Murphy to me as well. Murphy's small, five. I think he was just under 5'10", whereas Bryce Hall hits the 6 foot 200 mark. Uh, so size is the big differentiator for me between him and Byron, and a little bit less so Jair because Jair was 5'11", I think. Um, but very similar in their style and their strengths. So for those of you guys looking for a comp, that's kind of where I would go. Do you have a comp that you like?
I'm not a believer in comps I'm not really a believer in comps in general.
Alrighty then. So any other final thoughts before we finish this one out?
No, I'm all right.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys for joining us. This actually turned out to be a little bit more bland than the first one I recorded, but oh well, I feel like we kind of talked through some things that I wanted to, and uh, you got to see him and see what I liked about him as well. So thank you guys for joining us with this one. Hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your day. But for now, peace out.